Theatre of Dionysus.
The Theatre of Dionysus was an open-air theatre in Athens, most probably the earliest theatre in the world, where plays were performed at festivals in honor of the god Dionysus. The theatre was able to hold up to 25,000 people, with them all able to hear clearly what was being said on stage. Dedicated to the god of wine and fertility, it hosted the City Dionysia festival. Amongst those who competed are all the dramatists of the classical era who composed plays that have survived. An enlarged stone version of the theatre was later built and seated between 14,000 to 17,000 spectators. The remains of a restored and redesigned Roman version can still be seen on site today.
Olympia. Olympia was the site of the ancient Olympic Games, which were celebrated every 4 years by the Greeks. Olympia was situated in a valley in Elis, in western Peloponnese, through which runs the Alpheus River. It was not a town, but only a sanctuary with buildings associated with games and the worship of the gods. Olympia contained many treasures of Greek art, such as temples, monuments, altars, theatres, statues, and votive offerings of brass and marble. The most celebrated temple was the Temple of Zeus, dedicated to the father of the gods. In this temple was a statue of Zeus made of ivory and gold, the masterpiece of the Athenian sculptor Phidias. Next to the Temple of Zeus ranked the Heraion, dedicated to Hera, the wife of Zeus. In this temple stood the table on which were placed the wreaths prepared for the victors of the games. Outside the Altis were the stadium and the hippodrome, where the contests took place. On the west were the palestra, or wrestling school, and the gymnasium, where all competitors were obliged to train for at least 1 month.
Mycenae. Mycenae, rich in gold, the kingdom of mythical Agamemnon, first sung by Homer in his epics, is the most important and richest palatial center of the late Bronze Age in Greece. Its name was given to one of the greatest civilizations of Greek prehistory, the Mycenaean civilization, while the myths related to its history have inspired poets and writers over many centuries, from the Homeric epics and the great tragedies of the classical period to contemporary literary and artistic creation. The archaeological site of Mycenae comprises the fortified Acropolis and surrounding funerary and habitation sites. Most of the visible monuments date to the center's great period, from 1350 to 1200 BC. Great cyclopean walls surround the almost triangular Acropolis, which is accessed through the famous Lion Gate, the symbol of the Mycenaean ruler's power. The palace, symbol of the power of Mycenaean rulers, is located in the city's highest point. Knossos.
Knossos, also known as Labyrinth or Knossos Palace, is the largest Bronze Age archaeological site on Crete. The palace appears as a maze of workrooms, living spaces, and storerooms, close to a central square. Detailed images of Cretan life in the late Bronze Age are provided by images on the walls of this palace. It is near the main city of Heraklion and has been substantially restored by British archaeologist Sir Arthur Evans. Since the Roman period, it has been suggested as a source of the myth of the labyrinth, an elaborate structure constructed for King Minos of Crete to hold the Minotaur, a creature that was half man and half bull, and was eventually killed by the Athenian hero Theseus. The great palace was built gradually. The of 1,300 rooms are connected with corridors of various sizes and directions. The palace included a theater and extensive storerooms. The storerooms contained large clay vases that held oil, grains, dried fish, beans, and olives. Many of the items were created in the palace itself, which had grain mills, oil presses, and wine presses. Beneath them were stone holes used to store more valuable objects, such as gold. The palace was architecturally advanced. Part of it was built up to 5 stories height. An elaborate system of water distribution was also incorporated in the building.